Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. So we're doing some more Mansions of Madness. I thought we should probably get a little bit back into this, and we're gonna do some more heroes. We haven't done some heroes in a little while. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do the heroes that actually came with the most recent, as of the time of recording, most recent expansion, which was, what was it called? Sanctum of Twilight. That was it. We're doing the heroes that came with Sanctum of Twilight, which is Charlie Kane and Lily Chen. My wife and I have used both of these characters before, actually, and they're decent characters. So I thought, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and just knock them both out at the same time? Why not? Okay. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna knock out the skin, like I normally do, and to do this one, we're actually gonna mix up our colors a little bit. Now, I imagine that they're both kind of pale, just because, you know, Lily is indoors a lot, doing a lot of her martial arts training. She's in the dojo and that kind of thing. And Charlie Kane is always in the office doing his whole thing. So I thought that we would make them a little bit more pale, but instead of just using the pale skin and the what was it called? Fair skin and fair highlight, which I used for the Fallout Vault Dweller, I thought that we would do just a little bit different. Let's use fair shadow and fair highlights, and that's the color contrast that we're going to use there. So we're going to do a base coat of fair shadow for their skin, and we'll go from there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and use my medium Reaper round brush here. I do like this brush quite a bit. And let's start with Lily. Why not? I generally like to start with the face. So we'll go ahead and do the face. I'm going to try to go around her eyes a little bit, as I usually do. My medium brush here is starting to get into some rough shape a little bit. You can see some little some bristles kind of sticking out there. I think I need to replace this brush soon. But I think he's still got some life in him. Okay. Her face is probably the trickiest part. And now let's move on to her arms. Her arms are just all bare, so those are easy enough. Oh, I suppose I didn't mention it, but I'm sure that you caught on by now. I started with a layer of black. I just took a black primer and I went ahead and sprayed them both down at the same time, just to save a little bit of time. That's her left arm there. That's not too bad. All right, we're gonna touch up her ankles here a little bit. She's got kind of like the bottoms of her legs and her ankles showing. Okay, and that's it for Lily's skin tone right there. She's pretty much done. All right, so now let's move on to Leland, this big guy right here. One hand here is kind of in his pocket, but it's barely sticking out just a little bit. Alright, so that's it for both of their skin tones right there. So I'm going to rinse my brush off. Alright, and the next thing that we're going to get into here is we're going to highlight those skin tones. So we're going to be using fair highlight, just a much lighter shade of the skin color that we just used. So we're going to use that to highlight. And to highlight, we're going to be doing our go-to dry brushing technique. It's what I use for so much. I dry brush so much. I really love dry brushing. So let's do that. Let's do Lily Chen first, since she's probably the most dry. Just gonna load up some paint onto my dry brush here, wipe most of it off, as you do with dry brushing. Alright, and that just gives a little bit of tone to her skin. She's still very pale, but that's okay. Not hugely noticeable, but that's alright. I think it's going to be more noticeable with Leland here. Charlie Kane. Just because his face stands out a little bit more. He's got a bigger face. So when we dry brush his face here, I think it's going to stand out a little bit more. All right. And that'll do it. Easy enough. So we've got some skin tones on the both of them. I'm going to rinse that brush off. And next up, we're going to do some stuff that's mostly just for Leland. We're going to start with some rainy gray. It's basically just a light gray color. That's all that we're doing right here. I'm going to get out a fair amount of paint. Not going to go too crazy, but a fair amount. All right, I'm going to go back to the medium brush that I was using. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually do his hair. We want his hair to stand out. He's got kind of, if you refer to the character art, he's got very, very kind of stereotypical, you know, gray, white, old man hair. So I figured we would use a base layer of rainy gray and then dry brush some white over that. He's looking a little bit like Olaf from Lemony Snicket. Just a little bit. That's okay. All right, next up, we're also going to do the same thing with his shirt. He's got a very crisp, clean shirt here, and we're going to go over it with white mostly. But first, let's do a layer of gray to give it a little bit of shadow. All right, and that'll be good enough for that, I think. That's just going to be a base coat of gray for his shirt. Rinse that brush off. Again, just a very, very small step that you were doing right there. And I'm going to go back to my dry brush, actually. And we're going to use this to dry brush his suit. His suit has kind of a, you know, dark gray, black sort of color. So a really, really easy way to do that is to just kind of keep the suit black, like we've already got here, and then just dry brush everything gray. That'll bring out all of the high points of the miniature, all the highlights and all that, and that should make it look pretty decent. So let's go ahead and dry brush his suit with this rainy gray. Yeah, that's coming along pretty nicely. That's looking okay. Yeah, just sort of a dark gray, almost black color. There we go, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's got some nice depth to everything there. A nice even coat of kind of a darkish gray color. There we go, that'll do quite nicely. Okay, I'm gonna rinse that off now. All right, next up, let's give a little bit of depth to Lily's hair. Now, Lily has very, very dark hair. That's one of the things that's kind of distinctive about Asian folks generally, is that they've got very dark hair. So we're going to go ahead and emulate that. It's got a little bit of a golden brown kind of look to it, just a little bit. So let's use this dark highlight color to highlight that hair. We'll just leave the hair completely black, but we're going to highlight the hair with this stuff. And while we've got this stuff out, we will also use it to do Leland's cigar right there. I'm going to bump my brush game up a little bit. I'm going to use a small-sized Reaper round brush here. You know, just for safety, because, you know, that cigar is pretty small in his hands, and I would like to try not to get any brown on his hand. So let's do this. All right, here we go. The cigar's got a nice brown look there. Let's rinse that brush off very quickly. And we'll just move back on to, here we go, the dry brush here. So we will use this to dry brush Lily's hair. And then I'll just bring it out a little bit more, give it some depth. Kind of hard to get to the back of her head here with her arm up there like that, but that's okay. I think we're making do. There we go, and that just gives a little bit of depth to her hair. It brings out her hair just a little bit more. That looks much nicer than just leaving it that flat black with no highlight or anything like that. That looks much nicer. I like that a lot. All right, well, that's all that we were going to do with that color, so let's go ahead and rinse that brush off. All right, next up, let's do the highlight on Kane's shirt. We're going to go ahead and do some white there, and while we've got the white paint out, we might as well do their eyes too. So let's get just that a little bit of paint out of this pure white right here. Tell you what, for the rounds of their eyes, I think I can use the small size, excuse me, hiccup. Okay, I think we can use the small sized round brush that we've got here, so we'll just use that since it's got a nice sharp point here. Let's just go ahead and use that for the eyes. There we go, got some eyes on Lily there. Now let's do the same thing for Charlie. Alright, and then Charlie's got some white eyes right there. Alright, so we'll rinse that off. And now, while we've got that white color out, let's move back to our dry brush. And we're going to dry brush his shirt. Very, very lightly, not going too crazy, just doing a little bit here to accentuate his shirt a little bit. Oh, my brush here is still a little bit wet from when I last used it and rinsed it off, but that's okay. That's fine. You can get a little bit of paint onto the tie, I think, because we're going to go over the tie with a different color later on. Don't feel bad about that. Alright, and while we've got this, let's get his hair as well. There we go, now he's got that nice grayish white old man hair. That looks pretty solid. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll leave that the way it is. I'm gonna rinse that brush off. All right, and next up, let's go ahead and move on to Lily's attire here, because now she's looking a little gothic, you know, just kind of wearing all black, like that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and give her some color. Now, she's pictured as having very dark red, kind of phoenix red, orangish red clothes right here, and I figured we'll go ahead and try to emulate that. So I'm going to use two different types of colors here. I'm going to use blood red and phoenix red. And I have not used this combination of colors before, so to be honest, I don't know how well this is going to work out. But that's one of the fun things about painting miniatures, is that sometimes you want to just take some risks and do some crazy things and see what happens. That's kind of fun sometimes. I think I'm going to use a different brush here. I'm going to be using a small size Citadel base brush here. It's a little bit thicker, but it's not huge. Yeah, let's go ahead and use this for her clothes here. Oops. You know, I drop the mini so much, but I don't often drop the brushes while I'm painting the mini. I've usually got a pretty good grip on the brush, and I drop the mini. I've got a very dainty grip on the mini. A little bit different what just happened there. That's okay. Now, it looks like she's got kind of a hairband on her back here. Let's go ahead and do the same. Let's treat that hairband as the same color as her outfit here. Her kind of like a gi. I'm actually not sure. This looks more like a formal wear that Chinese folks would wear. I'm not totally sure. You know, forgive me, forgive my cultural arrogance. I don't actually know. I'm very unfamiliar with a lot of Chinese cultures or anything like that, but I think that this is more like a formal wear kind of thing. I don't really know. If anyone wants to elaborate in the comments below, feel free to do that. Gotten a little bit of paint on her ankle right there, you can kind of see, but that's okay. That'll be fine. You know, sometimes you slip up when you do little tiny things like this when you're doing miniatures, because, you know, it's pretty easy to slip up. I mean, these are small details, but you know what? Don't worry about it. I mean, as long as you approach the entire mini with sort of a sense of confidence and joy and all that, and you're consistent with your painting process all over the miniature, you'll crank out a very, very beautiful miniature. Don't worry, don't get hung up on all the crazy little tiny things like that. You'll just stress yourself out, and you're here to relax and unwind. That's why you're here. Here we go. All right, that's not bad. That's pretty consistent all around. All right, now we're actually going to use, you know what, I'm gonna bump my brush game back down a little bit, because that was just a little bit too much. That was just a little bit too all over the place. Let's go back to the medium round brush that we were using in the very beginning, and let's use that to get Leland's tie right here. There we go, nice big red tie there. All right. we don't have a lot more to do, actually, to be honest. So we're going to go ahead and dry brush that Phoenix red color onto the clothes, onto the attire for Lily there, and then we're going to use the same color for Leland's tie. Although, you know what? I don't know. I kind of like the tie just being a single color, and I guess that kind of makes sense, you know, if it's going to be made of like a weird kind of non-clothy fabric. I don't know. Let's see how this color looks when we do Lily's clothes here, and if we decide we want to dry brush Leland's tie with this, then we'll do that. I don't remember the last time I busted this color out, so this paint part is probably all stopped up. All right, let's see what that did. Oh, very nice. Much better. Okay. All right, don't need very much paint on. I think that little tiny drop will do. And it looks like her clothes are pretty much totally dry, so let's get to it. Let's dry brush. All right. Do my dry brush. Man, I love dry brushing. It's just so easy. Anyone can do it. All you need is a good dry brush. That's pretty much it. Yeah, the thing that I love about dry brushing is that you can get the depth and you can get all the different color variations and all that, but you don't need to get washes or varnishes or shades or anything like that. All you need is just a really, really nice paint set. All you need is a nice set of paints. That looks good. I like this a lot. Ooh, that's very nice. Yeah, I love the orangish red, red-orange, something. That's complementing that blood red really, really, really well. That's beautiful. Getting a little bit of this Phoenix red color on her shoulder there, but that's okay. That's not too noticeable. I really, really like this coloration. This is very nice. Yeah, I've never used this this color combination before, but I really, really like it. I think I'm going to use this for more things in the future. That's one of the things about mini painting. Don't be afraid to just take some risks. Do some crazy stuff. Do some things that, you know, if you don't know it's going to work, who cares? Give it a shot. There are hundreds, thousands of minis that you can paint. So if you feel like you messed up one or two of them along the way, don't worry about it. I think that in the long run, you'll be fine. Look at that. That's nice. I really, really like that. That's a beautiful color combination. I like that a lot. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's leave that. Yeah, I do kind of want to do that to Leland's tie, so let's do that just a little bit. Basically just going to get the corners of his tie. That's pretty much all that we're going to do here. There we go. Okay, that'll do it. All right. So I'll rinse that brush off. Oh, tell you what, while we've got that Phoenix red out, let's just, it doesn't really matter what brush we'll use. I'll just use that one medium round brush that we were using. Ooh, got some paint flakes on my surface here. That's okay. All right. Yeah, I'll just use that medium brush, whatever. Let's go ahead and just get the tip of his cigar. There we go. Yeah, nice. Just a little tiny detail. That's good. All right, next up, let's do a little bit more with the details. This is going to affect Charlie Kane a little bit more than it's going to affect Lily Chen, but I'm going to get out some antique gold right here. And I've noticed that Mr. Kane, or Mayor Kane? I don't know, he's just a politician. He could be running for any kind of office, I don't know. He's decked out in a lot of bling. He's got kind of a gold watch there, he's got a belt buckle, and then he's got another actual like wristwatch on his side here. So let's go ahead and do those. Let's use the small brush that we were using earlier just to be safe. Oh, and then he's got a little like kind of tie clip. So let's do that too. So let's just get a little bit of paint onto the tip of your brush and just very lightly, just dab, just a little tiny poke. Don't need to do anything too crazy. There we go, and we got the chain there. Let's go ahead and get his belt buckle there too while we're at it. There we go, very nice belt buckle. Very, very shiny. Okay, and then let's do the same thing. He's got kind of a watch here. Let's get that. You know, now that I think about it, you could probably see a little bit of his shirt sleeve underneath the jacket here. It's okay. I don't think it's gonna matter too much. That'll be fine. Okay. Alright, so now Leland is all decked out in his gold. So let's set that down. And I think that Lily's got kind of a medal on her choker here. So let's just dab that really quickly. Another little thing right here. Oops. Might have messed up a little bit there. A little bit too much on there. That's okay. That'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be alright. No worries. Okay, that'll about do it for those. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to get out sort of a glossy or semi-gloss paint. So this is a Game Color brand of paint right here. This is called Negro Black. And I like this brand of paint because it's got just a little bit of a glossy kind of look to it, a little bit of a semi-gloss. It's not full gloss, but it's got a nice shiny look to it. And I figured that we would use that to do Leland's shoes and his belt. Because he's probably, you know, super fancy. And he's probably gotten, you know, the nice, shiny, good stuff. There we go, and that just gives a nice shine to his belt and to his shoes there. All right, and the last thing that we're gonna do, the very, very last thing, and then we're gonna call it with both of these guys, is we wanna get their eyes. Now, let's bump our brush game really, really up, and let's get out our micro detail brush. Itty bitty little teeny tiny brush. So we're going to use, let's just continue to use that black that we had, and let's just dot their eyes really quickly. Let's start with Charlie Kane. Well, his eyes don't look great, but that's okay. Those will be fine. Those will be all right. And let's just really lightly get Lily Chen's eyes here. Eesh, that's really, really googly-eyed. Oh man, that's bad. Oh, that's really bad. Oh! That's okay. Let's turn this into something. Tell you what, let's just start over because I think that, ooh, oh man, that got rough. I don't often need to just completely restart my eyes, but those were pretty bad. Both of them were pretty bad, so let's just start over. That'll be fine. Don't tell anyone. It's fine. It's fine. Let's use our micro detail brush here a little bit. Just got out a little bit more white here, and I'm just gonna, just lightly dot the eyes again. Okay, so her eyes are mostly back to normal. Oh yeah, his eyes are not great either. Oh man. You know, I mentioned in past videos about how there are a lot of people that don't like to do the eyes on the miniatures, and you know what? That's totally okay because of scenarios like these. Because sometimes, they're just a pain in the neck to deal with. And if you mess them up, it can distract from the whole miniature. I'm gonna try again here though. Just to see if I can pull it off. Okay, his eyes are back to normal. All right. Tell you what, rather than use that Games Color brand of black paint, let's get out our regular pure black paint. Because it could be that stuff is just a little bit thicker. All right, so let's just try some regular flat black. See if we can do this one more time. All right, second time's a charm. Well, that's a little bit better, but yeah, I could have done much better. That's okay. There we go. Charlie Kane's eyes look pretty good though. So we'll stick with that. All right, well, I think that's going to go ahead and call it for these guys. I'm going to rinse that brush off, and that'll be it. So thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll definitely do some more Mansions of Madness as time goes on. I'll get to some more of the monsters and more of the heroes and all that as time goes on. So if you want to see more of that, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Let's Paint a Mini. Bye.